You know, there are some books that just completely change the conversation, and Rich Dad, Poor Dad is definitely one of them. It's one of the best-selling finance books ever, and it stirred up a ton of debate for decades. So, what's it really all about? What's the core philosophy behind it? Well, today we're going to break it all down and pull out the most powerful ideas from Robert Kiyosaki's famous book.
I bet this sounds familiar, right? This is the advice that most of us grew up hearing. It's what our parents told us, what their parents told them. It was like the golden ticket. Go to school, nail those grades, get a good, steady job, and you're set for life. It was the safe path, the formula for success that nobody really questioned. But here's the thing. The world we live in now is changing so fast. And this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it throws a huge question mark over that old advice. It basically argues that following that old script today could be, well, a disaster. The old rules just don't apply anymore. So, what do we do instead? What's the new playbook?
Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at why that old advice is fading. Then, we'll get into the story of the two dads. After that, the 3 big rules of wealth. Then, we'll cover the 5 obstacles that stop most people, and we'll wrap up with the biggest takeaway, how your future is your choice.
All right, first up, the end of old advice. You know that idea of working for one company your whole life, getting a gold watch and a cushy pension? Yeah, that's pretty much a relic of the past, isn't it? For most of us, banking on that old dream is actually a huge gamble now. And this is really the heart of the problem that Kiyosaki points to. He says, look, our schools are basically teaching us for a world that doesn't exist anymore. They were built for the industrial age. They're great at teaching us how to be good employees, how to work for money, but they totally miss the boat on teaching us financial literacy, how to have our money work for us.
So, to get his point across, Kiyosaki tells this really compelling story from his own life. It's all built around this central metaphor, his 2 dads, who gave him completely opposite advice about money.
Okay, so on one side you have his poor dad. This was actually his real dad, a brilliant, highly educated man with a PhD who was the head of Hawaii's school system. But even with a great salary, he was always struggling with bills. Then on the other side, you have his rich dad. This was his best friend's father. This guy dropped out after the 8th grade, but he ended up building a massive business empire and becoming one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii. Total opposites.
So, poor dad thought like most people do. He followed that traditional advice to a T. He truly believed his house was his biggest investment, his most important asset. And let's be honest, that's what millions of people still believe today.
And then, Rich Dad comes in with this bombshell. He says, nope, my house is a liability. And if your house is your biggest investment, you're in deep trouble. I mean, what a completely different way of thinking, right? This one idea, this massive contrast, is really the key to the whole book. So how on earth can a house be a liability? Well, that question takes us right to the core rules of wealth from Rich Dad. To really get his point of view, you have to understand these 3 principles he taught. It's all about realizing that the rich are playing a completely different game with their money. And the rules are surprisingly simple. Rule number 1, you absolutely have to know the difference between an asset and a liability. Rule number 2, mind your own business. And rule number 3, buy the fun stuff, the luxuries, last. So let's unpack these. So that first rule, it all comes down to this super simple definition. Just forget all the complex jargon you've heard. According to Rich Dad, an asset is just one thing, something that puts money in your pocket. That's it. And here's what that looks like. You have an asset, say a rental property or some stocks that pay dividends, and it generates cash flow that goes straight into your income column. It's like a little money machine. The whole goal for the rich is to just keep adding more and more things to that asset column. And on the flip side, a liability is the exact opposite. It's anything that takes money out of your pocket. It doesn't matter what you call it or what the bank says it is. All that matters is which way the money is flowing. And this gets us back to why Rich Dad called his own house a liability. Think about it. Every single month, the mortgage payment, the insurance, the repairs, that's all money flowing out of your pocket and into your expense column. Your car payment, same thing. Credit card debt, absolutely. They're all liabilities. And this right here, this is the rat race. It's that endless cycle, right? You work your tail off to get a raise, then you take that extra cash and buy a bigger house or a nicer car, which are really just bigger liabilities. And now your expenses are higher, so you have to work even harder just to keep up. You're like a hamster on a wheel, running faster and faster, but never actually getting anywhere. Okay, so let's say you get it.
You understand assets versus liabilities. But here's the kicker. Knowing isn't enough. The book argues there are these huge mental hurdles that keep most of us stuck in that rat race anyway. Kiyosaki points out 5 big ones. There's fear, that gut-wrenching fear of losing money. There's cynicism, that little voice in your head that shoots down every idea before it even gets started. Then there's just plain old laziness, which we often disguise by saying we're too busy. Fourth, bad habits, like spending your paycheck the second it hits your account. And finally, arrogance, thinking you've got it all figured out so you stop learning. Let's zoom in on fear for a second, because it's probably the biggest one. The book says the main difference between the rich and the poor is simply how they handle that fear. See, some people play not to lose. They're so scared of failing, so scared of risk that they never even get in the game. But winners, they play to win. They know that failure isn't the opposite of success, it's a part of it. They see failure as a lesson, as fuel that makes them smarter and stronger. So, if this is all a mental game, that leads us to the final, and honestly, the most powerful idea in the whole book. And that's this: taking control of your financial destiny. It says the choice to be rich or poor or middle class, it isn't up to your boss or the economy. That choice is up to you. And where does that power live? It's right here. It's in every single dollar you touch. Your financial future isn't decided by some big, one-time event like a huge promotion or a lottery win. No, it's forged in the thousands of tiny, everyday choices you make with your money. Think of it this way. Every single dollar you get is like a ballot. It's a vote for the kind of person you want to be. You can spend it and vote to be poor. You can use it to buy liabilities and vote to be middle class, or you can use it to buy an asset and vote to be rich. Your bank statement really is a reflection of the choices you've been making. And so, what brings us to the final, provocative question the book leaves us with? It's not about what you did yesterday, it's about what you do next. With your very next dollar, what are you going to choose? Are you going to cast a vote for being rich, for being poor, or for being middle class? The choice, as they say, is yours.